Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. I am so thrilled today to continue the conversation around sleep. This is part 3 of a 3-part series. Number 1 was all around why we want better sleep. And for many, they're like, well, of course I know why I need better sleep. I get hangry, I get irritable, I feel toxic, I feel tired. But let me tell you, there are many, many other reasons that hopefully when you listen to that episode, you'll go, wow, okay, I really do need better sleep. And then episode 2, I started diving into some solutions. This is the last of the series. So this is more around like specific solutions. Okay, I'm going to talk about lifestyle solutions, supplementation, meds, nutrition, and also what labs to ask for that can be specifically targeted to making sure you're getting better sleep. Okay, so quick, for those of you that didn't listen to episode 1, I want you to know that sleep is when we rest, digest, and assimilate. It's a third of our lifetime. It's the time that we're producing the majority of our testosterone and progesterone, which is going to help with muscle tone and confidence and libido and keeping mood stable and making sure that we maintain fertility and decreasing our PMS. Circadian rhythm influences sleep. Sleep influences circadian rhythm, as well as our dopamine and serotonin production, which is going to relate to feeling proud of ourselves and feeling connected in community and feeling happy. Sleep is when we file away our memories. It is how we practice stress reduction and mood stabilization. It has a lot to do with our weight. So if you are someone who's having a hard time losing weight, I want you to listen up, listen today, go back and listen to part 1 and part 2. And then obviously brain fog, detoxification, fatigue, I think that's all, we all know that, right? Lack of sleep can raise cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, as much as for someone who sleeps 6 hours or less a night for 7 consecutive nights, your cortisol has been shown to go up by as much as 50 to 80%. And individuals that have high cortisol and low sleep, it also signals the body to store fat and burn muscle. Okay, not what we're looking for. Okay, so for those of you that are looking for ideal body composition, I want you to really go to your sleep. Lack of sleep can also increase obesity as well as cravings for unhealthy food, cause insulin resistance. Do I need to go on? Go back and listen to episode 1. There's so much I want to say, but I'm going to go right to solutions. So let's start with lifestyle. I'm imagining many of you have lots of ideas already. The thing I want to say out loud is I'm going to go through a lot, okay? I'm going to give a laundry list of things that you can do. And that does not mean that I want you to start all of them right now. Pick a couple. Keep it simple. I think that we live in a society where many of us are looking for quick fixes. Okay, I take an ibuprofen, my headache's gone in half an hour. I take an antibiotic, I'm feeling better in 48 hours. That's not really what I'm talking about. And if you're someone who's really struggling with sleep and you're looking for fast results, some of this will help. But what I want is whenever you're in my space and implementing some of the things I'm recommending, I'm looking for long-lasting results. Okay, so when you change lots of things all at once, you go out and get all the supplements that I'm going to suggest, we have lots of variables. And if they're working, it's really difficult to figure out, well, what part is working? So I say go slow for the long term. So just pick a couple things out of this episode and try to implement them, see if it works. Then try a couple more things. Okay, so let's get right into it. Regarding lifestyle, I'm going to talk a lot about blood sugar maintenance during the day. I'll talk about that in the nutrition section after I talk about supplements. But I want you to know that if you're someone who is waking often through the night, particularly in that 2 to 4 a.m. period, for me, it's often a sign that your blood sugars have not maintained stable, steady levels throughout the 24 hours leading up. Okay, so what does that look like? Protein, fiber, and fat consistently throughout the day, keeping your sugars to a minimum, Not skipping meals. I'm not a big fan of continuing intermittent fasting through the morning hours, making sure that we're waking and getting some substantial produce, fiber, fat, protein. But yes, you can do an intermittent fast in the evening hour. I'll talk a little bit about that. So keeping your blood sugars steady throughout the day is vital. Okay. Eating frequent meals, not going more than 4 hours without something substantial, and produce. Lots and lots of produce. It's your friend. For those of you that are like, oh, I don't like vegetables. I was just at an event in Utah, and I was sitting with Jeff Griffin, and he's played for the wheelchair basketball team, for the Olympic team. I think I'm going to bring him on to my podcast. And he's like, I don't like anything green. I don't eat vegetables. I'm like, my friend, we're looking at cellular rejuvenation here, regeneration. My friends, we really need to get you eating some fruits and vegetables, ideally 3 different colors every meal. Okay. And as we're bringing in that produce, it's really supporting you. Okay. Caffeine during the day. The last episode, I talked a lot about caffeine. If you're someone who's having a hard time sleeping, particularly having a hard time going to sleep, but also waking through the night, I want to encourage you to try cutting out caffeine. Okay. Caffeine influences different people's bodies differently. I know people, they can have an espresso after dinner and they're good to go. It doesn't impact their sleep at all. Okay. I'm not one of those. I can have some green tea or some matcha, but if I have coffee or yerba mate, I'm done. I'm not sleeping that night. And especially if you're someone who tends towards anxiety or feeling nervous, feeling jittery, just having a hard time calming down, I really want to encourage you to try cutting out the caffeine. And if you're like, no, I need the caffeine for energy during the day, there's lots of better options. And I'm not going to dive into that because I have a lot to cover today, but we can definitely talk about that on another episode or reach out my way. Okay, exercise. We need to move our bodies, my friend. Okay, I'm sitting here at a computer right now. I should be using my uplift desk, so I'm at least standing, but I'm not right now. So have you moved your body today? Okay, the American College of Sports Medicine recommends a minimum of 150 minutes a week of exercise. But here's the deal. You can break that up into little segments. Okay, work it into your workflow. Can you work for an hour, take a break for 5-10 minutes, go take a walk around the block, do some sit-ups and push-ups, do some jumping jacks. When I go down the stairs, I'll do a couple extra up, down, up, down. Okay. I love the 7-minute workout. It's a free app I keep on my phone. I can justify 7 minutes for some reason. I can do that every day. And then, couple breaks here, couple breaks there. Next thing you know, you've added up to 150 minutes. Okay. And then maybe you're going to fit in a yoga class or going to the gym. But it doesn't have to feel as complicated as it is. But we do need to move our bodies every day, particularly if you're someone who's struggling with going to sleep. And in that, there's so much power with getting outside. I'm going to talk a little bit more around light and our eyes' exposure to light. And that means not blocked by windows, because many of them have UV blockers, but actually getting outside. So can we get outside and do our body movement outside? Now we're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. And if, depending on the temperature, if you can allow some sun on your skin, now you're also getting some vitamin D, and voila. Oh my goodness. We've got the stress reduction from being in nature. We've got the light on our eyes, which is going to help our circadian rhythm so we can sleep better. We're getting our body moving and we're getting some vitamin D. So really, truly, a little bit of outside time every day. I do notice, especially right now is in the winter time and it's cold. And I was just at this event in Salt Lake City and it was a lot of time inside. I get more tired. I even tend to feel a little bit sad and drab if I don't get time outside. So the fresh air makes a big difference. Okay. Hydration during the day. One, it's going to help with cellular detoxification. It's going to help decrease inflammation, but also paying attention to when are we hydrating. Okay. So ideally, you wake up in the morning, tall glass of water by your bedside, start your day with water and then light on the eyes. Okay. But we'll talk about which kind. And then my hope is that you can consistently hydrate throughout the day, a bare minimum of half your body weight in ounces. And then as you get into the second half of the day, we start slowing down a little bit. And beyond dinner, less hydration is better, particularly if you're someone whom you're being woken up by your bladder. Okay. So for a woman who's having hot flashes, sometimes it's a cortisol spike. Sometimes it's a fluctuation in hormones, and often it's a full bladder, which then stimulates a cortisol spike. So now we wake up with our mind buzzing, our body exhausted, and we have a hard time going to sleep, and we have a hot flash. Okay. I shouldn't say we. I'm not having hot flashes, but for those of you that are, okay. So be careful and be focused on hydrating throughout the day and then minimizing that hydration into the evening hours. I talked about with the last episode, but your bedtime routine, I'm taking a sip of water. Bedtime routine is so vital. Just like with our children, the more we can get into a rhythm of the time that we go to sleep, the time that we wake, a rhythm in how we prepare our body for sleep, it's significant. And think of that bedtime routine as the beginning of your 24-hour period. Okay, it's arbitrary. I mean, we say that we start our 24-hour period when we wake up, but what if we flip the switch? What if you see your bedtime routine and practice of gratitude and dimming the lights and lighting a candle if you can, reducing your eyes' exposure to blue light and screens? That bedtime routine is what sets you up for good sleep. And if you see that as the beginning of your 24-hour period, that's what sets you up for brain clarity and energy throughout the day. So for those of you that have specific practices in the morning, maybe maintain some of them. But I want you to also really prioritize that bedtime routine as the beginning of the 24-hour period. When we talk about light exposure, I could do a whole episode on this, but the big things to know are, and if you listen to the last episode, I talked a little bit about it too. We want, when we wake up, for the melatonin to go down and our cortisol to come up and our body to feel ready to wake up. Okay. That usually has to do with our suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is in our eyes. So our eyes' exposure to light. Okay. So we want light on our eyes first thing in the morning, particularly if you can get outside, even just go in the backyard for 5-10 minutes and just allow the light to be on your eyes. That doesn't mean look directly at the sun and hurt your eyes. Okay. But the light exposure is significant. And then we live in a society where we're looking at computer screens and phone screens and TV screens, which are all blue light heavy. Blue light, when you look at a normal sunrise, it's predominantly blues and purples because it's blue light heavy. Normal sunset is lots of reds and oranges because it's red light heavy. Okay. In the second half of the day, when we continue to expose our eyes to screens, it is confusing our circadian rhythm, our innate body's cues for it's time to wind down and prepare for sleep. Okay. So getting red light therapy in the afternoon hours, particularly if you're someone that lives in a climate where you have really limited hours of sunlight during parts of the year, buying red light therapy. So now in the afternoons, you're actually doing red light therapy on your skin. Then it's also going to support mitochondrial function, decrease inflammation. It's going to help the melatonin production as we get closer to time to sleep. And then when you actually go to sleep, we want all the lights out. Okay, we want it dark. Dark is when melatonin goes, oh, time to turn on. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about temperature in the bedroom. So strangely enough, temperatures do make quite a difference. Something I think it's fascinating that often airplanes are so cold. It's like they're trying to tell us to just go to sleep. But ideally, you're looking for like 62 to 68 degrees without a fan. Okay. And if you're cold, add bedding or wear a hat or even wear socks. I can't sleep in socks, but I can sleep in a hat. But we want the temperature of the room 62 to 68 degrees. We want it dark and ideally no fan. Calm space. Okay. We want to do a practice of gratitude in the evening as we're getting ready for that bedtime routine. And, some things that you might want to play around with is some people are really sensitive to EMFs. Definitely keep your phone out of the room. Try out turning the Wi-Fi off. See if it makes any difference. For some people, it does. I have a clock on my bedstand that is an LED clock that projects the time up on the ceiling. So if I do wake in the middle of the night, I can simply open my eyes just a little bit, look at the ceiling. I know what time it is and go back to sleep. Okay. For some, the simple act of, oh no, did I sleep through my alarm clock? What time is it? That little bit of waking up to look at the clock, or God forbid, look at your phone, that can sometimes be a make it or break it. And now you're awake, and now sometimes awake for the next 2 hours. And so for some, having that little thing where you just buy on Amazon a little LED clock that has your alarm, has music, and projects the light up onto the ceiling. Some of them, they have a wake up light sunrise. So what happens is, let's say your alarm is set for 7 a.m. Wouldn't that be nice for all of us? Some are like, what are you talking about? Let's say your alarm is set for 7 a.m. Then, 15 minutes beforehand, it will start turning on some light. So that way the light is, and it's like a nice red orange hue. So the light is being brought into the room, preparing your body to wake before the alarm goes off. And once again, that's just on Amazon. Do a search for wake up light sunrise alarm. Some people have a lot of success with Insight Timer or Brain FM. You can use those, and they have sounds that you can listen to that help brainwaves and help relaxation to get into deep sleep. I love Brain FM. I use it for my children too, if they're having a hard time sleeping. And then also an Oura ring, OURA, might be worth exploring, just keeping on your finger. That way you can track your sleep, and you could track your deep sleep, your REM sleep, and that way you've got some quantifiable data to work with. Okay, last thing I want to say in the realm of lifestyle is something called social jet lag. Matthew Walker talks about this. I think it's fascinating. So once again, we're trying to focus on routines, going to bed early, waking early in the week, right? And we keep to this schedule, right? Most of us tend to go to sleep around the same time and tend to wake up around the same time. And then we have the weekend and we're like, okay, we're going to go with friends. We're going to have some fun, maybe drink some alcohol. Oh no. Hopefully you listened to episode 2 and you learned how that's going to hurt your sleep. But what happens is if there's a 2 to 3 hour change in our sleep rhythm on the weekends, we're having fun, but I want you to keep in mind it creates jet lag. Just like if you've changed time zones and you've flown from, New York to London. And so Matthew Walker refers to it as sleep bulimia. It's like binge purge. And it can be really problematic because it's torture on our biology and our circadian rhythm and prevents good sleep at the beginning of the week. Okay. And so now Monday, Tuesday, we're trying to get back into a regular work schedule and we're not feeling as alert. Okay. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this. And the last thing that I want to say is my S's. Hopefully you've heard me say this before. There's 2 S's that belong in the bedroom and there's 2 S's that don't belong in the bedroom. Okay. The S's that belong in the bedroom, sleep and sex. The S's that don't belong in the bedroom, screens and sedation. What is sedation? Your meds, your Ambien, your alcohol. For some, even melatonin, valerian root, for some, that could be sedative. But I want you to keep in mind that sedation is not sleep. Just because you're laying there like a log does not actually mean that you're getting restorative sleep. I want you to go back and listen to episode 1 if you really want to dive in and better understand that. Okay, let's talk about supplements. Supplements that are going to be supportive of sleep. Number 1, magnesium. It actually helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest digest. It is the space where we feel safe. Magnesium is going to help reduce muscle tension and increase relaxation. So if you're going to add magnesium in the evening hours, lovely. If you're someone that tends towards constipation, I like magnesium citrate. I use Calm, CALM, as a powder. I like the raspberry lemon flavor. And I add it in my water with my ground flax. I drink it. I wish I could say I drink it every night. Sometimes I forget. And when I forget, I wish that I hadn't forgotten. The ground flax is separate, not on this topic, but it's a great source of phytoestrogens, great fiber for gut health. Okay. And then I'll do magnesium glycinate the first half of the day. Magnesium glycinate tends to be better if you have a lot of muscle tension, aches, and pains. Okay. So whatever it is for you, maybe magnesium glycinate is a better fit for you to do in the evening hours. Occasionally there's someone that says, I can't do magnesium. It just rips up my gut. Okay, then can you get a magnesium rub? Can you add Epsom salts and do a bath in the evening? Can you get a magnesium spray? Okay. Other supplements that are worth considering would be L-theanine, CBD oil. I use hemp pure as a CBD because it's hemp derived. So you don't know. So for those of you that are worried about, I don't want marijuana, I don't want THC in my body, we don't have to worry about that. It's coming from hemp and it's tested to be THC free. And it's from amazing gardeners. And one of my best friends owned the company and I love the flavor. So I can put the affiliate link. I'll write that down to remember. Hemp pure link, writing it down. It'll be in the show notes. Okay. Passion flower in the evening time can help wind down. Valerian. Valerian has a really distinct smell. So just keep that in mind, but you can get it supplementally. You can get it as a tincture. You can try lemon balm, even tart cherry juice. And ashwagandha as an adaptogen. So ashwagandha is great to support thyroid and just to help wind down. Melatonin is one of those. I talked about it a little bit. For some, their body responds really well. At night, you turn the lights off, you take a little bit of melatonin, and it just helps the body go to sleep. Okay. What is melatonin? Well, maybe you've heard of 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan. It's high in turkey meat, which is why after Thanksgiving, we're like, oh, to sleep. It turns into serotonin. And the body converts serotonin to melatonin by something called our pineal gland. And that conversion from serotonin to melatonin happens when the lights go out. How do we get serotonin? Well, 90% of our serotonin comes from our gut. So now you have to have a healthy gut, right? You have to get your gut microbiome test, get your GI map test, or whatever test you're going to do at stool. Make sure someone that you're seeing really understands that test and knows how to read it. I have a team member in my space that she's phenomenal. I trust her without a shadow of a doubt. So we need healthy gut. We need serotonin. And then it converts to melatonin naturally. So some will then add a supplemental melatonin, low doses, okay? And just keep in mind that light plays a role. So if you're taking melatonin and you're keeping the lights on, especially the fake LED lights, you're just confusing your body. Okay, so not going to work. From a diet perspective, I mentioned blood sugar stabilization, so important if you're looking for better sleep. I want to talk also about adrenal support. So often, that 2 to 4 a.m. wake up is what I consider an adrenal wake up. It's a sign for me, especially if you're a woman in your 40s or your 50s, where your ovaries are starting to slow down a little bit. The adrenals are getting the knock on the door. They've got more work to do the hormone production that the ovaries aren't doing. So now the adrenals are under more stress, so to speak. Plus, if you're in my space, you're an ambitious woman who's like out there, go, 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 do. And often the adrenals are tired. Now, if your adrenals are tired, then often in that 2 to 4 a.m. time, you'll get a surge of cortisol and you wake up with your mind buzzing, body exhausted. And when I look at your 24-hour cortisol curve, I'll see a high cortisol on your first collection. And we go, okay, so you're producing too much cortisol through the night. So what can you do? I've done lots of other episodes on adrenal support specifically. So I highly encourage you to go back and listen to those. Something simple is add in your adaptogen elixirs, drink them every day. You want your adaptogen, your protein source, your fat source, water, make it taste yummy. Okay. And there's lots of different adaptogens out there. You're welcome to reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for change in this. I want more energy. I want better sleep. I want my thyroid to feel supported. I want my immune system to feel stronger. I want my mood to feel more stable. I want to feel happier, whatever it may be. Just reach out and there's specific adaptogens that can be really supportive for each of those things. I've already mentioned gut support. So in the conversation of diet, your gut support really impacts your sleep. Okay. So cut off the fast food, cut off the processed foods, the fried foods. Okay. We want lots of color, lots of fruits, vegetables, and berries, lots of probiotic rich foods, prebiotic rich foods. Okay. Your fermented stuff. And then I'd encourage you to listen to episode 2 when I really do a deep dive into caffeine and alcohol. They're significant and they're definitely impacting your sleep. You don't want to overeat, especially in the evening hour. Our metabolism and digestion slows down for dinner. So ideally, we're not eating late. Okay. You want to really finish caloric intake within 2 to 4 hours of going to bed. And ideally, dinner size should be about the size of 2 fists. Okay. If you put your fists together, that's about the size of a meal for dinner. If you overeat, now blood flow is going to the gut to digest rather than your brain, so you don't get restorative sleep. Plus, it tends to increase indigestion, maybe some heartburn, which is also going to impact your sleep. So no late night snacking. I know it's tempting. Man, I was just on this trip in Salt Lake City and we were up till the wee hours in the morning. A bunch of us all rented a house together. It was at a mastermind with just some amazing people. And we were up in our pajamas, just talking. And let me tell you, that coconut bliss ice cream came out, and that is so rare for me. I want to say maybe once a year I'm having late night snacking like that. But let me tell you, I felt it in the morning. It was significant. And especially if you're someone who starts adjusting it and try for a couple months to cut out that late night snacking and then bring it back in, and you'll feel the difference. Regarding meds, what meds should you do? I would say none. Once again, sedation is not sleep. And so if you've been prescribed whatever the medication is to help your sleep, what I want you to know is there's lots of other options. And if you simply start integrating some of the things I'm talking about, watch what happens. Things will change. Regarding labs to ask for, and then I'm done. So finishing this up, labs to ask for that might give you some cues regarding some steps to take, and also some oh, wow, there's some possible causes why I'm not sleeping. One would be a 25-hydroxy vitamin D as in dog. That's a blood test. I want you to ask for it. Look at your lab range. My preference is that it's between 60 and 80. The next is a comprehensive thyroid panel. not just a TSH, but actually say, can you please order my TSH, a free T4, T as in Tom, a free T3. I want to see my thyroid antibodies and I'd like to see my reverse T3. Okay. And if they're like, oh no, I won't order that, your insurance won't cover it. Well, I'm encouraging you to pay cash for it. If not, it's a much more comprehensive way to really look at, is there something that's subclinical or maybe functionally off rather than diagnostically off that goes, that explains also why I'm tired during the day. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not ovulating. I can't get pregnant. I'm sad. I'm struggling with brain fog. I'm cold all the time. So I'm such a big fan of us really advocating for ourselves for thyroid panel. And if your provider absolutely will not order, just reach out to me. We can have a conversation around ways to bring you into my space. I have an ordering service that's not associated with my NPI or my prescriptive authority or my license. And so I can order for anyone and everyone, whether you're, no matter where you live. And then we can figure out something to review those labs. And, obviously if you come into the Women's Vibrancy Code, which is my year-long program, then, these tests are all ordered. The next thing would be your 24-hour cortisol. It's usually through saliva. My favorite is to order a Dutch Plus. So all the women that come into my space, into my year-long program or my VIP space, or they come and do a VIP day with me, I'm going to order a Dutch Plus and a GI map. So the Dutch Plus, I'm able to see your testosterone, your progesterone, your estrogen. Okay. So testosterone and progesterone are both predominantly produced when you're sleeping. And they're so important for so many different factors. But we also want to look at how is your body getting rid of those hormones as they circulate out of the body. And the nice thing about the Dutch Plus is then we can also look at your cortisol over 24 hours at multiple points and something called the cortisol awakening response. So I see like when you wake 30 minutes, an hour, that specific waking response. How is your body handling its time to wake up? Regarding insulin sensitivity and blood sugar management, you can ask for a blood test that is called your hemoglobin A1C. So HbA1c, that shows us an average of all your blood sugars over the last 3 months. Very telling, okay, for us to have a general broad stroke peek into what's going on with your blood sugars. And then the last thing, and then I'm done, would be your CRP level. So CRP is something that's ordered through blood. It's a very non-specific test that shows us inflammation in your body. So sometimes if you're really struggling with good sleep, it's that inflammation is high, stress is too high. Okay. So I'm going to finish. This is awesome. This has been a great series. I want you to go back, listen to part 1, part 2. If you haven't, you're welcome to re-listen, take notes, and really, truly reach out to me at any point. Ask any questions. Let me know what support looks like. If there's any parts you're like, oh, what about this? What about that? What should I do? I'm here for you. In the meantime, I'll put in the show notes my free recipes for adaptogen elixirs. I highly encourage that you drink those every day. And now I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, the hemp pure. I'll put the link to the hemp pure for the CBD oil. Until next time, I'm so happy to have you here listening. And within the podcast, please give a review, give a 5-star. I really do appreciate it. And on these episodes, I love to read the reviews that come in. So I'm going to go take a breath, and you all are awesome. Thanks for listening to the show today. I know you have lots of choices and live a very productive life, as we all do. I appreciate that you've allowed me to dive deep in your journey of feeling turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself. I trust you learned something, expanded your self-reflection, and you're grateful we shared this time together. Connect with me at www.thewomensvibrancycode.com or on all social media platforms and YouTube by searching for Maraya Brown, Maraya Brown. Lastly, if you've found value in what we chatted about in this episode, please consider leaving me a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. It helps others discover the podcast and get a feeling for the wonderful community we've all created together. As for now, I'm Maraya Brown, and you've been listening to the Women's Vibrancy Code.